Geronimo Stilton. The Amazing Voyage, Part 3. Once outside again, the king addressed the crowd. Who will save Blossom? Who will join the fantasy company? I looked around. No one was listening. The elves were playing patty cake, the dragons were chasing their tails, and the sea creatures were twirling on the frozen river. How rude! I felt so bad for the king that before I knew what I was doing, I stepped forward. Stilton of Geronimo, Geronimo of Stilton, Geronimo Stilton will join, I stammered. Queen Cozy hugged me. Dear knight, you are so brave. Here, take this vial of dragon tears. It can cure any wound. A minute later, I felt the ground shake. Thump, thump, thump. From behind the hills, a creature the size of a 15-story building appeared. It was Strongheart, my friend the giant. I jumped back so that he wouldn't squash me like one of Great Aunt Ratsy's sweet potato and cream cheese pancakes. Strongheart can be a little distracted at times. When he spotted me, he picked me up in his giant hand and held me at eye level. It's good to see you, friend, he said. I tried to speak, but I was suddenly having trouble breathing. The giant's breath was so bad it could have knocked out a whole army of mice. It was then that I remembered how much the giant loved onions. He ate them at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and even as a bedtime snack. He ate them stuffed, fried, baked, pickled, and even raw. How are you, Sir Knight? He thundered. Even though his breath was killing me, I didn't want to be rude, so I choked out, Good? And you? The giant sighed, nearly knocking me flat on my back with his breath. Well, I'm happy I've made lots of friends, but I'm still looking for my one true love. You know, that special someone, he murmured. The giant stared off into space. Someday, I'd like to have a family with a wife and some little giants. Well, they won't be little if they're giants, but you know what I mean, he continued dreamily. Suddenly, the giant blinked. Oops, I forgot where I was for a moment, he said. Then he announced, I will join the company. The crowd cheered. Strongheart, of the great Falcon, the last of the northern giants. You see, he is part of the noble great Falcon clan, and a friend to Geronimo. On Geronimo's very first visit to the Kingdom of Fantasy, Geronimo helped the giant rediscover his name, Strongheart. His story is a sad one. His entire family was consumed by the White Fury, a terrible avalanche that covered Falcon's beak, the giant's palace, many years ago. Strongheart is the only survivor of all the sons of the last king of the giants, and therefore he is heir to the throne. In his saddlebag, he always keeps the crowns of the king and queen of the giants, because there is no one left in his kingdom. He also keeps a bunch of extra onions in his bag and eats them constantly, even for breakfast. That's why his breath always stinks. He is often very lonely and wishes someday to have a family to fill his enormous castle with laughter and love. The crowd was still cheering when a deep voice called out, "I am not afraid to go to the land of nightmares. I, too, will help save our dear Queen Blossom." Everyone turned around to see who was speaking. An extraordinary creature strode across the great lawn. I cleaned my glasses to make sure I was seeing clearly. Yes, I was. The creature was a deer. An absolutely breathtaking, magnificent white deer. He had a powerful, robust body and strong, muscular legs. He had shiny hooves and glittering golden horns. A golden pendant with an oak leaf hung around his neck. I wondered what the oak leaf meant. Then Scribblehopper whispered, "Ribbit, see that oak leaf, your knightliness? That's the symbol of the kingdom of the Elves. He must be some kind of elf messenger." The deer fixed his dark eyes on the crowd. "I am Thunderhorn, king of the Elves," he exclaimed. "I will join the company." I smiled at Thunderhorn. We needed all the help we could get to save Blossom. Thunderhorn, the mysterious king of the Elves. The Elves are a noble and ancient people who love the forest and freedom. The mysterious king of the Elves is never seen by foreigners in his true form. He always appears as a majestic white deer with gold horns and hooves. He loves tranquility and the silence of his woods. Around his neck, he wears a precious golden pendant with an oak leaf, the symbol of strength and wisdom, on it. He is always ready to defend those in difficulty and to listen to those who are in need of advice. His name is Thunderhorn, and he is also called by these names: he who guards his people, the bearer of peace, the keeper of elf wisdom, and the protector of the elf woods. His palace is the Golden Castle. It is surrounded by a deep forest, which is impenetrable to most. Only those with pure and noble souls can cross through it. A slender young girl with blonde braided hair stepped forward next. She looked neither old nor young. She was very pretty, with wide green eyes and a perfect oval face. Her delicate nose pointed upward. Her lips were as red as cherries, and her skin was white and delicate, like porcelain. All the clothes she was wearing were made of different silver fabrics. She had a long silver coat and a shiny silver vest of armor. A silver bow and a quiver filled with arrows hung around her neck. "My name is Sterling," she announced, facing the crowd. "I am the princess of the Silver Dragons." She pulled a silver flute out of her bag. When she blew into the flute, a flock of dragons appeared in the sky. Their shiny silver scales gleamed. One of the dragons trotted over to Sterling. "This is Sparkle," she said. "She will come with me on this mission." Sterling took out an ornate book from her bag. It had precious silver designs on it and smelled like delicate lavender. "I will bring this book, too. It is a magic book, all about dragons. It can teach one everything there is to know about training a dragon," she said. "I will join the company." Again, the crowd clapped and cheered. I smiled at Sterling, but her expression remained serious. This princess was all business. Sterling, Princess of the Silver Dragons. In the fabulous kingdom of the Silver Dragons lives a princess named Sterling. She is as beautiful as she is courageous and proud. Her titles are Princess of the Silver Dragons, Leader of Light, Keeper of the secrets of the flame and guardian of the dragon kingdom. She is a wonderful archer and an expert swordsman, but her bow and arrow are special because they won't hurt you. Instead, they will heal you. Her weapons are made of light, and they are capable of transforming those who are hit by turning their evil thoughts into good thoughts. Sterling is a silver dragon tamer. To train them, she uses a silver flute and a magic book, which contains all the secrets of her people. Sterling trains her silver dragons to fly in the most difficult conditions and to do acrobatics. In her land, there is even a training field just for dragons. There is a landing platform and a lake where dragons like to go to cool down their flaming throats. Next, a creature with a bushy gray fur stepped forward. Holy cheese, it was a giant cat! His golden eyes seemed to bore right into mine. He was dressed in red boots and a large brimmed hat. At his side hung a sword with an emerald-studded handle. But it wasn't his sword that was making me nervous. It was his claws. They were as sharp as daggers. I gulped. So perfectly pleased to join you, he meowed, never taking his eyes off of me. My name is Gray, but everyone knows me as Puss in Boots, or the Talking Cat, or the Not-So-Itty-Bitty Kitty, or Murderer of Mice, or, as my Grandma Furball calls me, Mr. Tinkles. But don't repeat that one, or I'll have to eat you. Then he roared with laughter. I was so scared I thought I would die of fright. Very nice to meet you, I managed to squeak. Gray opened his eyes wide. Then he licked his lips. You sure are a big mouse, he murmured. But I was just pulling your paw. Of course I wouldn't eat you. After all, you are a friend of Blossom's, right? So we're all on the same team. Then he bent down and whispered in my ear. Actually, I prefer fish. But I don't want to look like a wimp in front of the crowd. You understand, don't you, Knightsy? I tried not to gag. Gray wasn't kidding about the fish. His breath reeked. I will join the company, said Gray, Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots, ambassador to the land of fairy tales. His real name is Gray, but he is also called Puss in Boots, the Talking Cat, the Not-So-Itty-Bitty Kitty, Murderer of Mice, and Mr. Tinkles. He is the ambassador of the land of fairy tales, where all the characters from the fairy tales and legends of the world live. He knows every language of the kingdom of fantasy and of the real world, because fairy tales are told everywhere on Earth. He loves playing pranks and tormenting his friends with tricks. He also loves dressing in expensive clothes and has so many pairs of boots he built 10 floor-to-ceiling shoe racks to hold them. He will eat mice if he's hungry, but he prefers the taste of fish. Right then, I heard a voice calling from the river, Yoo-hoo! Over here! I would also like to join the company. I looked around, but I didn't see anyone. The voice laughed. I'm right here, Sir Knight. I'm a talking ship. My name is Horizon, she said. And then I saw her. In the river, next to the Gnome Palace, floated a beautiful blue wooden ship with silver sails. The ship didn't have a mouth, but when she spoke, the whole thing vibrated like a musical instrument. I am the ambassador of the Talking Forest. I am built from magic wood, which is why I can speak," Horizon explained. "A talking ship?" I was impressed. I couldn't shake the ship's paw, so I climbed aboard and patted her wheel. "Welcome to the company." And the crowd cheered.